Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast. Today, we're zeroing in on nano nuclear energy. You shared some really interesting information on this company, and our aim today is to try and cut through the noise, really unpack what's important for you.
Yes, there's quite a bit to cover. We've got recent developments, a due diligence report, some stock analysis too.
Loads to get into. So this whole area, next-gen nuclear, it feels like it's getting a lot of attention.
It definitely is. And nanonuclear seems to be trying to position itself, right at the forefront of that push.
Okay, so maybe let's start right at the beginning. Who exactly is nano nuclear energy? What are they fundamentally trying to do?
So nanonuclear energy, they trade on Nasdaq Q, is focused on developing clean, portable, next-generation nuclear microreactors and the services that go along with them.
Portable microreactors. Okay.
Yeah, and their ambitions seem pretty significant. They're aiming to be commercially focused, quite diversified, and interestingly, vertically integrated across 5 main business lines.
Vertically integrated and nuclear. That
Yeah.
sounds, well, ambitious is the word. What are those 5 lines?
It is a big goal. The main one is portable and microreactor tech. They've got patented designs like Kronos MMR, that's a stationary gas-cooled type. Then there's ZUS, which is a solid core battery reactor. Odin uses a low-pressure coolant, and they even have one called Loci MMR designed for space applications.
Wow. Okay, so a range of technologies there. What else?
Beyond the reactors themselves, they're involved in nuclear fuel fabrication and, quite crucially, fuel transportation. They do this through a subsidiary, Advanced Fuel Transportation, which holds exclusive licenses for patented HALEU fuel transport baskets. That's high-assay, low-enriched uranium.
HALEU fuel, right?
They're also looking into nuclear applications for space exploration, as mentioned with Loci, and they offer consulting services too. And one thing they claim is being the first publicly listed portable nuclear microreactor company in the U.S. Oh, and they're collaborating with the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign.
That fuel transportation part, that really stands out. You don't hear about that as much.
It's potentially a very smart move. It gives them a possible strategic edge,
How so?
Well, think about it. It's not just adding another business line. It tackles a huge logistical challenge in the whole nuclear fuel supply chain. If they control that piece, it could really differentiate them from competitors who are maybe just focused on designing the reactors.
That makes sense. So these aren't just ideas on paper then. What have they actually done recently? Any tangible progress?
Yes, they've made some notable steps. For instance, they just finished retrofitting their nuclear tech testing facility in New York State.
Okay.
Operations are expected to start there pretty soon. Initially, they'll be focusing on something called the AAIP subsystem, which is a key part of their reactor tech, and testing other important components.
Good. So moving towards testing.
Exactly. They've also acquired some patented technologies, micromodular reactor, and pylon transportable reactor tech. This bulks up their patent portfolio and, importantly, improves their technology readiness level.
Ugh, the TRL. That's always key in these deep tech fields. Having a patent is one thing, but...
But having something closer to deployment is another game entirely.
Yes.
Also, that partnership with the University of Illinois is moving ahead. They're planning to build the first Research Kuros microreactor right there on campus.
On campus. That's quite a statement. Good for research and visibility, I imagine.
Absolutely. And on the legal front, a lawsuit they were facing in Nevada got fully dismissed, which helps clear away some potential risk there.
That's always good news.
And maybe one of the bigger pieces of news for investors, they're set to be included in the MSCI USA Index. That takes effect February 28th, 2025.
Ah, the MSCI index inclusion. That usually gets attention.
It really does. It often boosts visibility, especially with institutional investors, and can potentially improve liquidity for the stock. Oh, and more recently, they also acquired some key global patent portfolios for modular transportable nuclear generators. So they're definitely strengthening that IP position.
Getting into that index suggests the bigger players are starting to take notice. Okay, let's switch gears and talk money. What's the financial snapshot look like right now?
Right, the financials. As of mid-May 2025, their market cap was hovering around $992 million.
Okay, nearly $1 billion.
But, and this is important, their trailing 12 months revenue isn't available. That strongly suggests they're still pre-revenue or maybe just in the very, very early stages of commercialization.
No revenue yet. What about profit?
Well, no profit either. Their net loss for the trailing 12 months was about $11.95 million, which works out to a loss per share of $2.41.
So burning cash.
They are, yes. Which, isn't unusual for companies deep in R&D, particularly in a capital-heavy sector like nuclear energy. You have to spend a lot before you potentially earn anything.
Makes sense. So obviously no meaningful PE ratio if there are no earnings.
Correct. You can't really use that metric here yet.
What about other valuation angles, like book value?
Good question. The price-to-book ratio wasn't explicitly shaded in what we looked at, but we do know their book value was quite solid towards the end of 2024, around $130 million.
So assets minus liabilities.
Exactly. And if the book value is strong relative to the market cap, some might argue there's potential undervaluation, but that's a complex judgment.
Of course, dividends, I assume not.
No dividends. Again, very typical for growth stage tech companies reinvesting heavily.
And cash flow. Are they burning more or less cash lately?
Their operating cash flow was negative in Q4 2024, around minus $3.24 million. That outflow is actually higher than in Q4 2023, which is about minus $1.11 million. So the cash burn increased in that period.
Okay.
On the slightly more positive side, their accumulated deficit. The total losses over time did reduce a bit recently, from about $20.5 million down to $17.4 million.
How did that happen if they're losing money?
That usually comes from accounting adjustments or perhaps specific non-operating items. But the big change was in stockholders' equity.
Ah, the owner stake.
Right. That increased substantially between 2023 and 2024, from roughly $31.6 million up to $130 million. That clearly indicates they brought in significant new capital, likely through stock issuance.
Okay, so recapitalization and debt levels.
Seemed quite low. Total liabilities plus stockholders' equity was about $134 million in late 2024. And with equity at $130 million, that suggests very little leverage, mostly funded by equity.
So the picture is heavy investment, no revenue yet, burning cash, but funded by new equity, low debt. What are the key strengths you see that could help them turn this corner?
Well, definitely that strong patent portfolio we talked about.
Yeah.
Especially the exclusive licenses for fuel transport, that's a potential moat.
Right, the IP.
The MSCI index inclusion is another, plus boost credibility, access to institutional money.
Mm-hmm.
They also have a diverse product pipeline, targeting different markets, power on Earth, but also space applications. That diversification could be valuable.
Spreading the bets, so to speak.
Kind of. And as we highlighted, that vertical integration move into fuel transport really sets them apart from some others just building reactors.
The university partnership.
Yes, the collaboration with the University of Illinois adds R&D capability and credibility. And, practically speaking, completing the facility retrofit and getting close to starting operations there is a tangible sign of progress.
Any other positives?
Well, analyst sentiment seems quite positive currently. We saw strong buy ratings mentioned, and a pretty optimistic average price target, somewhere around $58, I think.
Analyst optimism is always interesting, though you take it with a grain of salt.
Okay.
But every investment has risks. What are the big ones here?
Absolutely. The most obvious one is the lack of earnings and the uncertainty around when, or even if, they'll achieve profitability. That's a major hurdle.
The path to profit is unclear.
Very unclear at this stage. Also, the stock price has shown significant volatility. That points towards speculative interest and inherent risk for investors.
High beta, probably.
Likely. The absence of reported revenue just underscores how early stage they are commercially. Then there's the regulatory environment.
Yes, nuclear regulations, not known for being quick or easy.
Precisely. Navigating those hurdles, getting permits from the NRC and equivalent bodies elsewhere, that can cause major delays and challenges. It's a huge factor.
What else?
Market acceptance is another one. Will customers readily adopt these new microreactor technologies?
Yeah.
And they do face competition from established players and other startups in the advanced reactor space.
And the cost.
Immense capital intensity. Developing and deploying nuclear tech costs a fortune. They'll likely need ongoing funding rounds until substantial revenues kick in. And of course, you have macro factors, interest rate changes, economic climate that can impact any stock, especially development stage 1.
You mentioned competitors. Can you give us a quick sense of the landscape there? Who else is playing in this advanced reactor sandbox?
Sure. The whole nuclear sector is seeing a bit of a comeback, driven by the clean energy push. In the advanced, smaller reactor space, key names include NuScale Power.
Right, they're also public.
Yes, focusing on small modular reactors, SMRs.
Yeah.
And they've made some headway with regulators. Then you have TerraPower, that's Bill Gates' company, though it's private. They're developing advanced reactors, including their natrium design.
Okay.
And Oklo is another one active in advanced reactors. They also went public via SPAC recently, I believe.
So a busy space. How does nanonuclear stand out again?
Well, beyond their specific reactor designs like Kronos and Zeus, that vertical integration into fuel transport is probably their key differentiator compared to many of these others who are more purely reactor-focused.
Got it. So looking forward then, what are the key things investors or anyone interested should keep an eye on for nanonuclear? What are the potential catalysts or milestones?
A couple things stand out. First, their upcoming earnings report expected around June 20th, 2025. That will be the next chance for updates on financials and hopefully operational progress.
Any specific operational updates to watch for?
Progress at the New York testing facility would be one. And critically, any news on their engagement with regulators, particularly the NRC permit process for the Kronos MMR.
That regulatory piece feels absolutely vital.
It is. Positive movement on the regulatory front would be a huge de-risking event and essential for eventually getting these reactors built and operating. That's the path to commercialization.
So putting it all together,
Mhm.
what does this mean for you, our listener, trying to make sense of nanonuclear energy?
Well, it's definitely an interesting story. You've got a company with big ambitions, a solid base of intellectual property, and some real tangible progress recently with facilities and partnerships. But as with almost any company trying to bring complex, disruptive technology to market, especially in a field as tightly regulated as nuclear energy, there are significant risks and a lot of unknowns.
The potential is there, but so is the uncertainty.
Exactly. The thumbs up from analysts and getting into the MSCI index suggests that, serious investors see potential here. But you absolutely have to balance that against the current reality. No revenue, ongoing losses.
So patience and a high-risk tolerance needed.
Probably, yes. You'll want to watch that upcoming earnings report closely. Look for any news on regulatory milestones, especially NRC approvals. That's crucial.
And ultimately.
Ultimately, the proof will be in the pudding, as they
Yeah.
say. Can they translate the technology, the patents, the strategic moves into actual commercial success and eventually profits? That's what you need to see unfold over time.
So as always, we encourage you to do your own further research. Look at their SEC filings, check out their investor relations materials on our website, form your own informed view.
Definitely dig deeper if this space interests you.
And if you found this discussion valuable today, please do subscribe to the podcast, give us a like, and leave a comment. We appreciate the feedback.